What is up, guys? Welcome to Championship Week, my friends. We are going to just dive head first because we're not going to waste a bunch of time introducing ourselves because at this point, you know us. You've been around the block for 16 weeks, and we're rolling into week 17 of fantasy football, aka the Championship Week, my friends. Welcome, and chaotic as always, but randomly, for some reason, I think me and Ange have just been so overwhelmed with, podcasts and notes and prep and our full-time jobs, because this was not our full-time job, that we didn't even realize we were matched up in the semifinals. And I looked after the podcast and I was like, oh fuck, we play each other this week. It's fine. But we got to give Ange the kudos. She took my ass down week 16 in the semifinals. You know what? I was like, you know what? I'm proud of my team. They showed up. They didn't totally shit the bed, but your fucking team was doing nothing and then after halftime did everything.
Okay, so I was in full crisis mode on Sunday because, like Amanda said, there was nothing happening in that first. And I was projected to win. So we use Sleeper. I just am so visually stimulated. So I see the green, rocking and rolling, checking it, seeing the red. I baked cookies with my mom again this weekend, and I'm trying to talk to her. She has no clue. I mean, this woman thought the Steelers were playing on Thanksgiving because Aaron Rodgers used to play for the Packers. Oh, this poor woman. So I'm trying to explain to her how terrible Josh Allen's doing and then how no one's doing anything. And she's like, it was bad. But then it all turned around for me. A beater, Chase Brown, came through for me.
Wow.
Ryan Hampton came through for me.
Yeah.
It was good. So
showed up, show out, baby.
Headed into week 18 or 17, but a little nervous. So I get to play actually, because we were all screwed up, like she just said. But
super screwed
now I get to play my best friend, Aislinn, in the championship. And I told her, oh, we're going to play. She's like, you just jinxed me. But she had Jonathan Taylor. There was really no doubt there that she was going to swoop in there. So good times. But the other league.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I was projected to win, and then my that team did bad. That team, I had Amon-Ra. I should have won. And I had Puka in that league. So I was going in with this 46-point lead thinking, I'm golden. It's fine. Yeah. Didn't go well because I don't remember who she had, but there were some good players. But anyways, so it came down to last night. And I've never really had a last Monday night, kind of decision. And I needed Tyler Warren to, like Amanda says, an anvil to drop on him.
Because an anvil to drop on his head.
The anvil to drop, like cartoon style. That was the last
Really,
person.
you just needed him to get less than 6 points, right?
Less than 6 points. You know what that little bitch got?
6.0.
On the dot.
6.0.
We go into Monday night. I told my husband, Caleb, I said, listen, Tyler Warren has to score less than 6. All night, we're just watching the game. He's like, oh, and then he was passing. First of all, Phillip Rivers looked way better last night. Way better. Gives me a lot more hope in some of those players. But he was passing obscure tight ends. We were cheering for Ogletree or whatever. And then I went to bed because I was like, I have to go to bed and remove myself from this chaos. He was so invested. He stayed up for the whole game. He comes up. I'm like, see him coming into the bedroom. He gets my phone to look at Sleeper. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I have to check. I have to check if you won or not. Don't you even care? And then I didn't. Just didn't.
I know. I looked this morning and I was like, oh, so close. That's one of those nail biters that you're just like, but that's how you want to go out. You want to go out in a tight matchup or just someone's team performing so fucking well that you're
exactly.
Okay. You don't want to go out when your entire team shits the bed and you're like, what the fuck? It sucks when that happens. But.
Exactly. So shout out to Jamiracle on Ice. Love the name, by the way. One of our listeners who is into the championship. Hell yes. Get it, girl.
Hell yes, baby. So. We love to see it. Well, I did end up taking at least home one W, and I did get into the championship in the league with my husband. So I'm excited to walk into the championship week there. And hopefully, I've been in the championship game every year we've played in this. It's been 3 years now. I've played in the championship every year, and I've come in second every single year.
Bridesmaid situation.
I was going to say, I've never been the motherfucking bride. Maybe I take home the diamond ring this year. Who the fuck knows? We'll see. see. All right. Well, we are going to get into all of your matchups for championship week if you're there as well, or if you're just trying to play to win your money back or come in, well, hopefully first place, but at least take home a little bit of cash in the championship game. I know we obviously have a, buy-in for most of our leagues, which just makes it a little bit more fun at the end where, I'm in third place now for ours. And I'm like, listen, at least I can try to win my damn money back because it's better than fucking nothing at this point. So we're going to get into all of our matchups. As we know, we have multiple games on Thursday. That is Christmas Day. So we've got 3 games on Christmas. We've got 2 games on Saturday, and then the rest of our Sunday lineup from there. So a busy week for you because I know you're in madness Christmas prep mode, but don't forget to prep that fantasy lineup prior to kickoff at 1 p.m. on Christmas Day. So before we get into all of our matchups, though, let's go ahead and start with the play of the week. And what was your play of the week from week 16?
My play of the week was that Thursday night, just absurd 2-point conversion where all year there have been these plays where you just hear like a cartoon noise and you're like whoop, 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 whoop. And that kind of was it. It hits off a Rams, helmet. I almost said head. Helmet. And then it drops in the end zone. And then just there's a guy there in the right spot at the right time.
Just like picks up the ball.
I don't know was it him or was it another guy?
Sure it might have been somebody else, but it was It might have been, but it was some Seattle player who just happens to grab the ball. And I don't even think intentionally thinking, I got the 2-point conversion, but it was. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was just insane and crazy to watch. So how about you? That was messy. That was messy.
Yes.
My play of the week was fucking Kenneth Gainwell, man. I mean, he made a crazy catch. So he got knocked down before the ball even got to him, but then still was able to maintain control, catch that ball, and then no one touched him. Got up and scored a fucking touchdown. It was absolutely out of control. I was just like, that's like one a hell of a heads up play to be able to like get tripped up and then still catch that ball and then have enough self-awareness to know I was not touched yet, get in the end zone. It was epic. It was chef's kiss. That entire game was like messy as fuck, but I kind of loved it. I haven't been like stressed watching the Steelers for a while because they've just, their offense is so lackluster. It actually looked decent this past week. That game stressed me the fuck out. At the end, I was like, why am I so anxious?
It was a big one. Yes,
it was. All right. How about your bet of the week?
My bet of the week was Chase Brown. Like I said earlier, got going in the second half, didn't have much going. I was a little bit sad. Scored a personal best 32.9 fantasy football points. Not only scored, was great on the ground, but also had a pair of receiving touchdowns. So that is even better. Headed into next week against the Cardinals. That's just championship fuel. And I'm glad I have him. So here we go.
And you also traded for him and you traded away.
I did.
The whole Roma Dunze.
Dude. Next week, when we kind of recap our season, I just got so lucky with my trades. Just so lucky. Couldn't even, it just happens. That's fantasy football. Luck. That's like, it's like pretty much 80-20. Luck and skill.
Yeah. Luck and strategy and like a lot of being okay with taking some fucking risks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love it. All right, my bet of the week is from the same team, but Joey B himself. He went through his little emo stage there for a hot second. He was down bad and just was feeling a little bit depressed. And you just saw him go out this week and it just looked like he kind of was like, you know what? I am just going to have fun. I'm going to kind of take my power back here and say I am in control of having fun in this game. He was just slinging balls around. He was being Joey B. And it was fun to watch him play. He had great fantasy production if you did end up starting him. I know I was definitely a little bit nervous. I started him in the league I won. I was a little nervous because I'm like, am I going to get like sad Joey B or am I going to get actual Joe Burrow? And he showed up, which was a welcome surprise in the playoff week. So he was my bet of the week. How about your rookie of the week?
Rookie of the week for me was Harold Fannin. And we were kind of doing notes at the same time. And I said, Amanda, are we Browns fans? Like every week there's a Browns
shout out
player.
So many Browns.
Thumbs up. But Harold Fannin with Njoku out, hell, even with Njoku in, has just been amazing. And, being Ohio natives ourselves, and he went to Bowling Green, it's just even cooler to see a smaller school, not this big powerhouse, college. But he led the team in targets. He had 6. He had 2 touchdowns. I played against him, but still pursued. Amanda has him. But Harold Fannin was great. He also had 1 yard, a rushing touchdown. So it's great. So he's doing good. He's going to continue that production into week number 17.
Absolutely. I'm going to give my rookie of the week to Ashton Genty, who had an absolute outstanding week 16 against a tough Houston defense. And I know a lot of people were very gun shy to give him the go, a couple back under double-digit fantasy production weeks, which just sucks as a player you drafted so high for your fantasy draft. But 2 touchdowns, 31.8 fantasy football points, a big receiving touchdown too. It was just absolutely out of control. He performed wonderful. It was great to see him get a little mojo and pep back in his step here as well. All right. Well, like I said, we are going to get into all of your matchups. We have every single team playing, lots of matchups to go through. So we're going to dive in. And Ange, go ahead and kick us off with our first matchup of the week here.
All right. First matchup is Dallas versus Washington. On the Dallas side, against this Washington defense, you're going to start everybody. So you're starting Dak Prescott, you're starting CeeDee Lamb, you're starting George Pickens. I'm even going to go as far as to say start Jake Ferguson, even though he's been a little bit shaky, but they've had tougher matchups for the tight end. This is a way easier matchup. He should be good to go this week. And then really as far as a sit, I'm going to sit the Dallas defense. I don't trust them. Even with a third string quarterback for Washington, I'm still not even comfortable saying they're a streaming option. They've just been so bad all season. On the Washington side of the ball, Dallas, like I said, it is a poor defense. They can give up a lot of good points to most positions. Now, there was like this catastrophe of quarterback injuries in week number 16. So one of those was Marcus Mariota. I don't foresee him with the short turnaround playing. So that gives us the third stringer, which I don't even know if I wrote down here. Oh yeah, Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson is their backup. And it was fun conversation because he's been playing for like a million years. He's been on like 20 different teams. My husband and I talked about it, but he didn't do too bad. I don't think that he's going to be that big of a downgrade. Now that's kind of a conversation for guys like Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, because they should have a very elite matchup with Dallas, right? But you factor in a different quarterback who isn't even the second stringer, it's the third stringer. Now, I did read that he's getting, a lot of play time with them in practice, and I think that's going to be a good thing. I still have confidence starting them this week. Personally, I know I have McLaurin. I don't have a problem with starting him against this Dallas defense, who's given up a league high 2,614 receiving yards to wide receivers this season.
Exactly. That's where my head's at too. I'm like, you hate to not, like we would just watch QJ score 19 points against the Dallas defense. Exactly. It's hard to not start at least fucking Scary Terry, but I think both of them can go.
I do too. I don't have a problem with it at all.
Like you said, with all the other injuries too, like we watched Gardner Minshew's on IR. So like who the fuck's starting quarterback for Kansas City? And you don't want to play Max Brosmer if JJ's out. He sucks. Like he sucked when we saw him start that a couple weeks ago. So like I think I would trust a, quarterback who's at least been in the league for an extended period of time.
Sure. I like that. And then at the running back position, it's kind of switched back to that committee role, right? We're seeing JC, I'm back in it. Bill is relevant again. We're seeing Chris Rodriguez. I'm still going to trust Rodriguez over the other guys. I think he's proven himself. I think he's also a great start this week. But if you need kind of that secondary running back, I don't think Bill is an awful choice if you did snag him and you're kind of in a weaker position with the running back. At all, because Dallas is, again, the matchup is just so elite for them. And then the tight end position, you're not even thinking about Ben Sinnott or however the heck you say it. And then you're sitting the Washington defense against an explosive Dallas offense.
Awesome. Moving over to Detroit versus Minnesota. This is the Thursday afternoon game. Detroit coming off a tough loss, obviously, against the Steelers in a very interesting way to lose that game with that OPI with Tesla in the end zone. And then again, OPI with Amon-Ra pushing the defender out of the way and then coming back for the ball and then tossing the ball to Jared Goff and then Jared Goff miraculously getting in the end zone. It was messy, okay? Nonetheless, Detroit did take an L. Is it possible for Detroit to get in the playoffs? Yeah, but it's like 3 to 6% chances. Yeah. They have to win out and Green Bay has to lose out in order for them to have a chance to get in.
This is the time when all those weird things happen where you're like, if this team wins and this team loses, and it's so, how do people even go into those statistics? It freaks me out, but
I love it. I'm like, get nerdy be on me, please.
I know.
However, Detroit is a team that I think I've heard some dialogue from women of like, should I be worried about this team not carrying anymore? No, you don't want to. You're never going to worry about that. These men are professionals. Also, a lot of these guys play for like end of year bonuses, and so they're trying to make some monies. So those are things that like you always want to look at. We watched, I think it was Kendrick Bourne last night. He did the money because he hit his passing yards to be able to win his $500,000 bonus.
I was looking things up last night because my husband and I were talking about Stephon Diggs, and he's one of those guys that we'll talk about. But there's like so many incentives that they can get. And I'm like, I mean, especially in championship week, let's get them. Let's get them, boys.
I'll make you some money, boys. I love it. So my must-starts from Detroit, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Those three guys you're just going to lock in. I know Amon-Ra had a rough week, but I don't expect that to continue by any means. Jared Goff, great week 16 performance, even with just like he was throwing to random receivers and he was still producing really, really well. So I think he's a great streaming start this week. It is a tough Minnesota defense. Minnesota's not an easy passing defense by any means. They are difficult against both the wide receiver and the quarterback position, but I still think this is a streaming start. Coming off of a tough loss, you would expect a little bit of fire underneath their asses to get their shit together. So I think you can go ahead and give him the stream, specifically if you're dealing with some quarterback injuries, right? Don't know if Mariota's going to play. And if you were also had Patrick Mahomes and then you got Mariota and now you're like, motherfucker, I have no quarterbacks, Jared Goff would be a streaming option in there. I also do think I might prefer a Goff over like a Justin Herbert facing the Houston defense this week as well. So just some key things to keep in mind. I think Monty's a full set. He's getting like 6, 7, 4 carries over the past 3 weeks. That is not enough workload. 6, 7. That is not enough workload to continue or to trust, in my opinion. All of the tight ends are a sit. And this is a great streaming defense start for the Lions because we might be seeing Max Brosmer in week 17 for the Minnesota Vikings. Which leads me into the shitstorm of this game, the Minnesota Vikings. Absolutely no. The only person you might even mildly feel comfortable starting is Aaron Jones, but you got to watch his health because Mason got hurt. He's probably going to miss week 17. Aaron Jones got hurt, but was able to come back into the game. But like that man is old and that man probably hurts. And I mean, I'm assuming he's going to try to give it a go because that team has literally nothing fucking left. There's no one. So you would assume that Aaron Jones is going to fire it up, but just watch his health. He'd be the only player I feel good about starting. If Max Brosmer is the quarterback, I don't fucking want any piece of Jordan Addison or Justin Jefferson. I don't want him. I don't want it.
And if you made it this far with Jefferson, I wouldn't trust him in the championship at this point. No.
The Lions defense is fucking good. Like the Lions defense is not a bad defensive unit. Hutchinson is going to be all up Max Brosmer's business. Like it's going to be a scary game. So like, I don't want him. And here's my thing is like, can you start Justin Jefferson? Yes. Would I prefer to move away from Addison? Absolutely. I wouldn't take the risk. JJ is the number one wide receiver, right? He did have a decent 14.5 point game last week. I just don't love it. I don't trust that quarterback to be consistent, in my opinion. So there's guys I'm looking at, right? I might take like I might double flex a tight end if I have like Fannin and Pitts. And
you made fun of me last week.
I didn't make fun of you. I said that's wildly risky behavior. But like a double tight end flex, if you have 2 high upside tight ends, like Fannin basically is operating like a wide receiver. So like fuck it. And if you have a Henry has a great matchup this week, you can double flex Fannin and Henry and I wouldn't be pissed about it. Even someone like with a high upside like Michael Carter has a really good matchup this week as a running back. If Pearsall's out, I would play Juwan Jennings over JJ this week. I mean, shit, even though it's risky as hell, like you're looking at like Josh Downs, Alec Pierce.
Oh yeah.
I don't love it, but like it's there. You're making risky decisions.
It later.
Yeah, it's definitely a pause. It's a pause situation because you're worried about Justin Jefferson. So that's my rant there. I don't want Hawkinson either. And I don't really think I want the Vikings defense. I think there's better defensive, English is hard today, better defensive matchups in my opinion.
It's okay. Well, I hung out with one of my friends a couple days ago, and she fully thought Christmas was December 26th. So you thought it was January 26th or 25th. So it's all good. Everybody's hard. Numbers are hard. And we are like the same. Me and my friend Sabrina are like the same, and numbers are very hard for us. So I relate it. Okay, my next matchup. Denver versus Kansas City. Oh, here's another one of those dumpster fire games. In an ideal world, I'm going to say, you're going to start lots of the players from the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't like anybody. I'm not even sure if Rashee Rice is going to be back for week 17. That would be the only guy I would even entertain just tiny slightly, just because who else are we going to look for?
I think they just hold him, right? Like, he's got a concussion. They're playing one of the best defenses against the pass. You think they just hold him, right?
I would think, but maybe again, does he have incentives? Is he trying to get back out there for incentives? I don't know. I mean, he missed all those games, so who knows? And then last week was just awful against Tennessee. I mean, when I saw that score, I was like, oh, okay. So pretty much, I'm not trusting anybody for Kansas City. I mean, if Rashee Rice is out, you're looking at Xavier Worthy. Don't like it against this, like Amanda just said, a tough, pass defense. The only guy I'm going to maybe think about is Pacheco, because he was a little bit irrelevant last week, but really the relevance was really only in the pass game. And this is a, tough pass defense. So don't like it. I'm going to start Rodriguez. I'm going to start Michael Carter with way more upside than Pacheco or Hunt.
Hell yeah.
And I do not like Travis Kelce this week, even with, maybe that's more reliable person for a third string quarterback, right? Yeah. But don't like it at all. He's just been abysmal. He's ready to go. He's ready to be done. He's ready to retire. I don't think he's given up, but I would go, Ferguson, Strange, Hunter Henry, all over Kelce this week. Much better options there. And I'm not even going to think about the Kansas City, the defense either. They've been god awful as well. On the Denver side of the ball, Kansas City is more dominant, or should be more dominant on the defense. I haven't really been seeing that. So there would be a lot of players that I'd say, maybe rethink, but I'm going to definitely start Sutton. I'm going to definitely start RJ Harvey. I think those are two great starts this week against Kansas City. Kansas City defense was very poor against Tennessee offense. So I think that opens up a lot of opportunities for the Denver side of the ball. That being said, I don't really love Bo Nix this week. I don't think he is a must start. I think I would play guys like Brissett or even Brock Purdy over Nix this week. But if you're like in a Stroud Nix situation, you're going to go with Bo Nix for sure. As far as the wide receivers go, I know Pat Bryant, I think, just got injured again. So that opens up more opportunities again for a guy like Troy Franklin. I don't think Marvin Mims is really even relevant to talk about. If you really have that situation where you want to take a risk, Troy Franklin could be a guy, since he's had a little bit more production. I'm going to lean on the sit side for him. I don't really think that's a guy they're going to look for as much as a Sutton in this week or a run with RJ Harvey.
I'm wondering, I'm going to look real quick what his targets were from this past week. Where are you, Denver? I'm not going to find it fast. Okay, pause. I found it. I'm going to look at what his targets were. Yeah, he had 5 targets. So not terrible. But I agree. I think with Pat Bryant out, I don't mind Troy Franklin this week. My thought process was would you go down to a Troy Franklin or an Alec Pierce or even a Josh Downs? I think I would favor the consistency of Bo Nix and Troy Franklin, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would agree.
Pat Bryant saw 8 targets, and with Pat Bryant not going to play week 17 because that was a nasty hit, you would assume those would go back to Troy Franklin. So I like that as a start this week.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Evan Ingram, you're going to sit. He hasn't really been relevant at all. And then the Denver defense, you can start him up against this. This should be a really great start this week.
Yeah, that's a drooling, foaming from the mouth situation.
I got him and I'm putting them in, baby.
All right, Texans versus Chargers. This is Saturday afternoon. The Texans must start. Nico Collins, you're going to fire him up into your lineup. That's my only clear, super duper duper hard must start. And we'll kind of go into the rest here. CJ Stroud, you have better options. Obviously, I think Jordan Love would be a great start as long as he's healthy. He did get hurt, obviously. So just watch his health availability. Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, Purdy, May, Brissett. Even if for some reason, if Mariota ended up playing, his matchup is favorable. So I would play him if he does end up going and is healthy enough to actually play ahead of CJ. And like Ange said, Bo Nix ahead of CJ Stroud. I don't think you need to go down that rabbit hole. I think Woody Marks would be a great play as a running back this week if he ends up playing. It does look like he should have been available week 16. They just out of pure caution held him back and said, just get healthy fully. We have enough to cover us, and then we can fire you up again in week 17. So he likely will be back. I think that would be a good option, specifically with how many like weird quarterback issues we're experiencing right now, making the wide receivers a little bit risky. You might need to be flexing an extra running back. And I think Woody Marks would be a great play this week too. Dalton Schultz, this is a hard matchup. He's a streaming option. This is just a more difficult matchup for him this week. He showed up last week. He had 14.5 points, one of that being obviously his touchdown relevance, but he had 5 receptions, so that's not a bad target for him either. I would start Ferguson, Strange, Pitts, and Henry ahead of Dalton Schultz, but Dalton Schultz isn't a full sit for me either. The defense, dominant AF, always going to be a streaming option. Even with the fact that they let up a good amount of points to the Raiders last week, they still had like a 20-point game. So like they're a good defense. You can fire them up every week. Yep. Facing the Chargers, who do have a very weak O-line. We have 2 must-starts. I think Hampton is a clear must-start, specifically with the Vidal injury. I don't know if he's going to play week 17 or not. So I think Hampton is a great start this week. Getting involved in that pass game, short check down PPR stuff is great if you are in a PPR league. The only wide receiver I would even feel mildly comfortable with is Ladd. I don't really want Quentin Johnston or Keenan Allen this week. QJ is just going to be that boomer bust player, right? That's very much his role. Allen has been underperforming. To me, he's just a full ass sit. Ladd, I don't hate it. This is just a really hard matchup. The Houston defense is good. Like they're just a very, very dominant defense, and it would be a scary start, but it's an option. Justin Herbert, a streaming quarterback option start. I would personally play Baker, Brissett, Williams ahead of Justin Herbert this week. I said that last week and Justin Herbert dropped 30 points. He had a great week. I just think this is much harder in my opinion.
I think everybody was wrong on that game.
Well, I mean, he was facing Dallas. So like we think about that and think, okay, I just worry about overall Justin Herbert's health, and this defense is not the Dallas defense. This defense is good. So like I worry about that for sure. So to me, I'm trying to sit him down if I can. Vidal, I already talked about it. Hurt workload did obviously drop as well. We don't know how much that dropped because he got hurt and how much he dropped because they just want to get Hampton more involved. Gadsden, I think you have better options out there. Pitts, Barner, Strange, Ferguson, Fannin would be guys I start above Gaston. We did see the second tight end get involved as well. And then I think there's better defensive options out there than the Chargers.
Okay. All right. Moving on to Ravens versus Packers. So another quarterback that could be potentially out would be Lamar Jackson. Has a back bruise or something of that nature. So I think he's pretty doubtful to play next week. So that puts Tyler Huntley back in as the quarterback. So that kind of downgrades most of your positions. I think you're still going to start up a Derrick Henry for sure. I would originally have said start up Zay Flowers. I think that his relevance and kind of playability diminishes in week 17, were Lamar to be out. I don't think a ton, but I think that he would be a kind of a questionable option there for me. And as far as kind of tight ends go, I don't like Andrews or Likely. I mean, Likely wasn't even involved last week at all. They're full sits. Tough matchup for the tight end. They're not going to be looked at all. So I would say Zay Flowers would be the guy that's going to be utilized the most. So he's a start here. And then you're sitting this defense against the Packers offense. And then here we go into the Packers side with some of their injuries. So like Amanda just said, I would have given Jordan Love the go. Now, if Jordan Love's back, I'm going to lock him in there. I'm not putting Malik Willis in. I'm not thinking about him at all. It wasn't horrible. I mean, he was getting the job done.
He held it down. He was able to keep his shit together, honestly.
He was. But then actually, and I did look at this, he also suffered some injury. I think he was very sore after being done. So then I was like, I wonder who the third stringer is. And there was some obscure guy. And then, fun fact, it said that in case of emergency, Josh Jacobs is next up. Then Jaden Reed is next up. And my husband and I were talking last night about Phillip Rivers. Like, if Phillip Rivers were to go down, who's next? Because Leonard is injured. Jones is injured. Who the hell is the next guy?
Anthony Richardson was activated off of
IR.
I think it's Anthony.
Yes. Okay. That's what I thought. But I didn't know if he was off IR or not. Okay. Anyways, back to the Packers. You're starting Josh Jacobs. I know it was a rough week for him. I know he kind of had that fumble and a little bit questionable. I think he's still someone to trust. And then the other running back to consider here is Emmanuel Wilson. I mean, he's very much relevant. I think this is that hot hand approach. If he's off to a great start, they're going to keep rolling with him. They're going to obviously integrate Josh Jacobs into it because it's Josh Jacobs, so he's not irrelevant at all. Wilson was very relevant in the third quarter. I think if Josh Jacobs were out with that knee injury, which has kind of been something that's continuing to happen throughout the year, Emmanuel Wilson could get you that win in the championship week for sure against the Ravens. When we talk about wide receivers, because a backup quarterback is in, then we have Watson, we have Reed, we have Dobbs. Now, Dobbs was the guy who got the targets in week 16. So again, we've said it all year. It's like that
you, Romeo.
The board, right? And you're like, well, who's going to benefit from Malik Willis? Maybe it's Dobbs again, because that was the guy he looked for. Maybe it's Watson. Maybe it's Reed. I wouldn't really go for any of these guys. I think it's too risky. Mm-hmm. I mean, after last night's performance and seeing Phillip Rivers connect with Alec Pierce, I think I'd rather go Alec Pierce than any of these guys, just because there's big playability and there seemed to be a better connection than, what we're seeing in Green Bay. And then you're fully sitting Luke Musgraves. And then the defense is a great start, especially, with the probability of Huntley in as quarterback and some of the struggles that the Ravens have had this year.
Oh, yeah. The freaking roulette game of wide receivers. I had Watson and Reed, and I played them in two different leagues. And it was like that. Like, I don't think I fully hit REM until after overtime hit. Because I was like, I looked at my phone and I was like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And then I looked at Romeo Dubs. Mind you, my husband, before the game started, he's like, I think it's going to be a Dubs game. And the whole time I looked at him and was like, this is your fucking fault. And he's like, I don't have control. And I was like, you spoke it into existence. I believe in manifestation. Anyways, I was
Romeo.
pissed because Reed and Watson just did nothing. And I also had Loveland, and it was just an uncomfortable game. Okay. Seahawks versus Panthers. Let's go. So we have must-starts from the Seahawks. JSN, duh. I think most of you were probably shitting an actual brick when JSN goose-egged you after the first half of the game. I know I went to bed like, what are the fucking chances? And I woke up like, I hate you, JSN. Like, he still had 23 points. It was insane. Walker and
So
Sharps,
the goose egg helps you get into REM. Like the initial goose egg, you're like, sleeping good.
Yeah. And then he's goose egged. I'm going to go conk out. I'm good. When my players are doing nothing, I'm like, my anxiety's through the roof. My Oura ring's probably like my heart rate's real high. It's like, what's happening? And then finally the game's over and I'm like, okay, we're good now. Whatever. Okay, JSN, like I said, must start. Walker and Sharps. I like them both this week. I did not see that production coming from Walker last week. He was definitely like a full ass sit for me. I didn't feel confident starting him. And if you did end up giving him the go, good on you. Same with Sharps. Both of them produced. Charbonnet obviously is always going to be very touchdown dependent, but I think both of them can be a go this week in week 17. Darnold will always and forever be a streaming quarterback option. Do I like him particularly this week? Not really. The Panthers defense is not terrible against the pass and against the quarterback position. I would start Darnold over like a CJ Stroud, but I don't think you're going to need to particularly go down that rabbit hole. Maybe if you were just decimated by injuries and you're dealing with that's your best upside option. I don't think Darnold's going to like do anything insanely terrible for you in week 17. Rashid Shaheed, he's a full sit. I just think he's interesting more for like thinking into next year. He's been relevant on that team. They're manufacturing touches for him. And I think he's going to end up becoming a very relevant part of the Seahawks moving forward. So not anything for this year, but just something to plant the seed for next year. AJ Barner, I think he's a streaming tight end option this week. He did see 6 targets this past week, which is not bad. When you're looking at tight end position, you want to see like, what's their target share been? Past 3 weeks, he's been 4.66. which isn't a terrible amount of targets. This is a solid matchup for him. It does favor that tight end position as well. I would start him ahead of Tyler Warren. I would start him ahead of Kincaid. Dealing with that injury, we saw his usage dip quite a bit. And I would also start him against Schultz with a tough matchup. I would sit him ahead of Ferguson, Fannin, and Strange, though. So just kind of for a little context there. Seahawks, they're a streaming option. They're a good defensive unit. They kind of shit on you last week and got you negative points. But the Panthers are looking really good. They are making a long stream. You might have a better pivot option for defense outside of the Seahawks. Panthers, must start. Tet McMillan. I've believed in Tet for a while. And people, the past couple weeks, I've had a lot of commentary of like, but Jalen Coker. I was like, listen, Tet McMillan is their wide receiver one. And I think he's going to continue to operate as their wide receiver one. Coker saw an increase in targets. They dropped back down. And this week we had McMillan's targets back up at 10. Coker's a risky ass start. He's an option as a wide receiver, but his targets have been 6, 4, 5 over the past 3 weeks. And Tet's now back up into the 10 target, double digit targets, which is what we like to see as a wide receiver. So I think that's a great start for the week. Bryce Young, I think there's better options. He's a sit for me this week. Rico, I'm going to call him a start-ish. And what I mean by that is like, he's not a full start. He's not a full sit. It's very, very roster dependent for you guys. So you got to look at your roster and see what running backs are you dealing with. This is another hard matchup for him. It was a hard matchup last week. This is another difficult matchup for him. So keep that in mind when weighing your sit-start decisions here. I would look at like a Michael Carter this week with a better matchup. Obviously, like an Ashton Genty has a really good matchup this week. Chase Brown. And I might even consider a risky Chris Rodriguez. That's debatable. It's very much a way the field. Chris Rodriguez splitting some time, Rico getting most of the time. Rico tough, Chris easier matchup. Chris Rodriguez dealing with a backup quarterback, maybe more run game, just decisions to weigh in your head. Those are all things you want to think about. Chuba's a full sit. Sanders, only 2 targets as a tight end. Again, he had a higher point scoring week, but I don't love him because why? He had 2 targets. No, thank you. I don't want any of that roulette of hoping he gets into the end zone. And then defense, I think you have better defensive plays this week outside of the Panthers.
My next matchup, Cardinals versus Cincinnati. On the Cardinals side, because they're facing an easy Cincinnati defense, most of these guys are auto starts and great starts. Brissett, great start this week. I know we were all a little bit bummed last week because that was supposed to be a golden matchup after Houston shocked everybody with that game. Michael Carter, great start this week as running back. Michael Wilson, also a great start. We'll talk about the other wide receiver here in a second. And then Trey McBride, I know everyone was probably very sad that Trey McBride did not have the production, and that may have not helped you get into the championship week. So if you did slide through to week 17, trust him again this week. Yeah. Now, other wide receiver to talk about is Marvin Harrison. And usually Marvin Harrison is like we're going to get him going. Now, Marvin Harrison had more targets than Michael Wilson last week, but was less productive. So Michael Wilson has shown much more productivity, can get in the end zone, can make catches. I just think since Marv's been back from injury, it hasn't been great. So I'm not loving it this week. I'm not going to ride with him this week. I'm going to ride with a Michael Wilson this week. I would take a risk on guys like an Alec Pierce after I saw the play that was possible than thinking about putting Harrison in. Because I'm not putting Harrison in as a wide receiver 1 or 2. I'm putting him in maybe as a flex position. I'd rather shoot my shot with a riskier flex with points. That's my opinion.
Never. I would never do that for the record. I would definitely play Marv. I think we have to think about, I just think we have to think about the pass game last week of he had 16 completions and 203 yards passing for Brissett. So everyone's targets were down. Wilson had 3 targets. Marvin Harrison had 3 targets. And most of the targets were going to the tight end position because he had to get the ball out quick. Higgins saw more, production than McBride. I think Marv's a throw him in your lineup, in my opinion. I would go Marv over. I don't know. I think we saw one shining week from Alec Pierce. Taper your expectations with that. It's kind of like the Colby Parkinson excitement of oh my God, I'm starting Colby Parkinson. And that was the scam of all scams.
Yeah, true. And I'm not by no means am I saying, there was this, like you said, shining star moment and he's back in my lineup. But if I'm looking for a big playability, I think
he has potential big playability. Yeah.
As far as defense goes, you're sitting the Cardinals defense. On the Cincinnati side against the Cardinals, you're starting them all up. You're starting Joe Burrow. You're starting Chase Brown. You're starting Jamar Chase. You're starting T. Higgins. The only guy you're not really looking at is the tight end position. So Mike Gesicki or any other tight ends that might be used in Cincinnati. And you're sitting the Cincinnati defense as well.
All right, interesting matchup here. The Steelers versus the Browns. We are officially taking my 9-year-old nephew to his first Steelers-Browns game, and we get to go to this game. I'm super duper excited. I converted him to a Steelers fan.
Yes, okay, because he did not grow up well. I mean,
no.
I don't know.
He grew up with like a very his parents do not watch football. They are like nerdy with a capital N. Okay, they just are not sports people
in the nicest possible way.
In the nicest possible way. They're just nerdy people. Like they like to play Magic card games. Like it's just a realm that I have never been introduced in. We grew up in a sports family. So me and my husband are insane sports fans. We love football, right? We watch sports all year. And we kind of that was our first nephew. So we definitely indoctrinated him into the world of sports and heavily got him super interested. Well, when he was young, I'm like his person. He loves me. I'm probably his quote unquote favorite human outside of his parents, right? So I knew I had an in, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get this kid. It was 3 years ago. I have it on my phone. I got him a Steelers jersey for Christmas, or a Steelers sweatshirt for Christmas, and I hid it from my husband. He had no idea. No one knew I was doing this. I put it in a bag and I gave it to him on Christmas. My husband was pissed. Actually, to this day, he talks about how mad he is that I did that because number one, the kid likes me, and now he loves the Steelers, and he's like a diehard Steelers fan. So we got him tickets. It's he's a Christmas birthday baby, so his birthday's right after Christmas. So we got him both the tickets for his birthday and for Christmas. So we're taking him to the game, and I'm so excited. It's going to be such a good time. But we'll get into the Steelers versus Browns. So if you didn't hear, DK Metcalf is suspended for 2 games, so he's not there for you for the championship game. It's just crazy. I you know what? I don't know what was said, and you have to at all times control your emotions. You're a professional. You couldn't do that in the workplace and expect to keep your job.
No,
so that's unfortunate. I don't know what that man said. It sounds like this has been maybe a guy he's brought up when he played for the Seahawks as well, a Lions fan. Yeah, I heard this morning that this guy has caused trouble before, but
why is he still allowed
reported it to the league?
Stadium? Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just a sham, but who knows? And you'd think something bad would have to have been said for him to throw hands like that.
I mean, you're for sure. Yeah. I mean, you could entertain in your mind what was probably said.
Yeah. Nonetheless, we'll talk about the Steelers. So Aaron Rodgers is a full sit. Myles Garrett's coming for that sack record, and Aaron should be just a little bit scared for his old bones, okay? We're going, like we said, it's at the Cleveland Browns Stadium. We're going. I hope nothing more than Myles Garrett gets that sack, because I would love to hear that. I'm not a Browns fan, but I would love to hear that stadium go absolutely wild for him breaking that record.
It's going to go nutto, yes.
It's going to go nutto. Both running backs are starts for me. They're basically in a 50-50 split. They were both incredibly productive last week. Jaylen Warren ripped off some big ass runs, scored almost 30 points. He was on my bench. And Kenneth Gainwell is one of the top receivers for the Steelers. He's a fucking running back. Cool. Awesome. So I think both of them are great starts. There's no tight ends I'm interested in. And the Steelers defense is a great streaming option. Shedeur Sanders is very turnover prone. He's a rookie. And the Steelers defense loves to kind of go into hibernation and then come out and be like, no, we're that guy. And maybe they get JJ back or TJ Watt back this week. Who knows after his lung. I'm sure. All right, the Browns.
Wow, there's a lot of ASMR happening in this episode.
You're welcome if you're listening on Spotify.
They're really gross ones too.
I make weird facial expressions, and I make weird noises with my mouth. I can't control that. I'm weird. No. The Browns, the only must start here, Harold Fannin Jr. Everyone else, you're sitting. Shedeur Sanders, and negative to all the wide receivers, and RIP to Judkins, and hopefully a 4 to 5 month recovery. Hopefully he's better for next year. That was sad and disgusting.
When I was watching that game, I was so they kept showing Shedeur Sanders nasty finger. I don't want to see the bloody finger, right? But then they wouldn't show the Judkins, they wouldn't replay it. So I'm well, I gotta look it up because I gotta see it. And then my mom was like, "You looked that?" Yes, it was. You looked that up and watched that, but you can't deal with this bloody finger. I'm Mom, I don't want to see the carnage on the TV of the blood. It was dangling off his finger. It was disgusting.
Oh, yeah. But nonetheless, I don't want any part of the running backs. Unless for some reason Dylan Sampson were to come back, that would maybe interest me a little bit as a desperate running back option. That's booty hole depths of despair, but I'm in the championship running back option, which wouldn't be a terrible decision.
No, there's some struggles at running back all over the place. So
yeah, it wouldn't be terrible. I don't want anyone else, but I would would only take Dylan Sampson if he happens to come back. And I don't hate the Browns defense. They're good. He's coming for that sack record. And with DK out, I don't know who Pittsburgh's going to pass the ball to. Oh, did I talk about Pittsburgh wide receivers? Oh, other than DK Metcalf, I didn't. Yeah. But I'll cover it and circle back. I don't want to start any of them. One of them will have to be productive. I don't want to start any of them, but we'll talk about that
unless they decide to unless they decide to go to one of their 5 million tight ends.
5 million tight ends. All right, let's move on.
And we did see Darnell Washington just like pile drive another human this week.
Dude, so that man is, I love watching that 300-pound man.
It's great. It's great. All right, my next matchup is Jaguars versus the Colts. So you're obviously on the Jaguars side. You are continuing to roll with the flow himself, Trevor Lawrence. I'm sure,
baby.
I mean, does your husband watch that game and just think, man, does my hair look that good?
His flow. If you guys didn't know, we'll
put it be that for Christmas. I don't think we've ever.
I know. Well, he hates Trevor Lawrence because he thinks he looks like an ogre, and he does kind of. Was something one time I was like, looked in the mirror and I was like, do I look like a female Trevor Lawrence because my nose is so big?
Amanda, don't get your hair cut short.
I was so worried. Anyways, I'll put a picture of my husband because my husband has like flow. He's got like long hair. And every time we get ready for Halloween, he can't be anything that doesn't require long hair. It's a whole.
Except this year, he really didn't care. It was very odd. I was there for the whole conversation. It was great.
Whatever.
Okay, so Trevor Lawrence must start. Rolling with him again. ETN, another great start this week because he's been very productive. Out of all of the wide receivers, I'm choosing Jacoby Myers as my must start. I think this is going to be a good kind of going into the week. Good matchup for wide receivers this week. That's what I'm trying to say. Other wide receivers, I think Parker Washington was really only relevant last week because there was so much coverage on BTJ and Myers. And he had that kind of flash of relevance. I don't think he's going to be as relevant this week. I don't think he's someone that's going to not get any production. I think that he's going to be there maybe here and there. But I think BTJ and Myers are going to be the guys that are really going to be looked at more so as wide receivers with heavier targets.
Yeah, I think what we've seen from Trevor Lawrence is like he prefers a wide receiver style to Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington. That is who he prefers to throw the ball to. He does not like the play of BTJ. Everyone has like a different wide receiver like style of play. He does not connect well with BTJ style wide receivers. So like if I had to take a shot, I would preference Washington over B. I think all three of them could potentially go in your lineup if you needed them to.
I mean, that's kind of what I was going for is like they're all really relevant in this matchup. So really,
I think
anybody you want to take a shot on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that's a good point because they haven't had the connection really at all this season. And I think he's starting to heat up. BTJ's starting to heat up a little bit more, but I don't know. But again, it's really who you have and, you know, who you want to trust. Brenton Strange could most definitely be a streaming tight end this week. Another great matchup for him, getting targets from Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is on fire. I'm going to preference, Brenton Strange over a Travis Kelce, over a Tyler Warren, over a Mark Andrews, all a better start. And then the Jacksonville defense, I think, is a great start with this Colts offense that's looking a little bit better, but still a little bit shaky. So as far as the Colts side of the ball, I originally only had Jonathan Taylor as a start for me because that was really the only guy that I could trust with Phillip Rivers. Now, Phillip Rivers, had a week of practice, had more connection with these guys. No one else is a definite start for me, but things looked a little bit better. You're not going for Phillip Rivers, you're sitting him. As far as with this matchup, wide receivers go, I don't think Michael Pittman is a terrible start. I think he is definitely more in the mix and not as, forgotten about as he was prior to us kind of seeing Phillip Rivers make more connections. If you really want to go for a risky pick, we've talked about Pierce kind of here and there throughout this episode. You could go with him. I would trust him over Downs, even though Downs seems to be getting some maybe shorter passes from Phillip Rivers, some end zone relevance in last week. If you are looking for someone to sub in because of the idiot DK Metcalf, then, you can grab Pittman, pop him in. I would start, Pittman over maybe like a Worthy, a Franklin, DK if he's out and you need a guy to put in there. Definitely options this week. I'm still going to sit Tyler Warren. I still don't really trust him with production. Brenton Strange, Ferguson, even Waller are better options. And I'm going to sit the Colts defense as well.
Yeah, better showing, but still feels extremely unknown for that team. All right, Buccaneers versus the Dolphins. Must starts from the Bucs. Obviously, Mike Evans is going to continue to be a must start. Baker Mayfield is a solid streaming quarterback option this week. Am I going to call him a must start? No, but it's very roster dependent. With how many quarterback injuries there are, I'm not mad about throwing him to the lineup. I would preference Brissett ahead of Baker this week, but I would play Baker over like a Justin Herbert with a tough matchup this week, in my opinion. Wide receiver wise, we have Godwin and Puka. So Godwin saw 6 targets this past week. In the past 3 weeks, he's seen 8-5-6, where Puka has seen 9-7-2. So Puka's targets have definitely dropped down. And Godwin's has stayed consistent. So if I had to decide between one of those 2 wide receivers in week 17, I would play Godwin ahead of Puka. Puka right now has very much been like a Kayshon Boutte boom or bust style player. He had that one big reception, which gave him at least a little bit of fantasy relevance this past week, but he's not someone I want to rely on. In my opinion, over both of these guys, I would start guys like Scary Terry with a good matchup, even if he had that backup quarterback option. I still like Scary Terry this week. I would start Jacoby Myers, BTJ, or potentially even Parker Washington ahead of both of these wide receivers this week. If Pearsall's out, I love Juwan Jennings this week ahead of Godwin and or Egbuka as well. Bucky is not an auto sit. He's also not an auto start either. What's unfortunate right now with Bucky is he's losing all of his goal line touches to Sean Tucker. That is their goal line back. That's the style of running back Sean Tucker is. He's a bowling ball. He's going to get into the end zone. That's not Bucky's style of play. So he's not going to get those goal line touches if they get down to that 1 yard line. Sean Tucker's going in, you're going to be pissed, as I was. What sucks too is Rachaad White is their passing running back, right? So short check down passes are going to Rachaad White. Bucky is that skill running back. So if he doesn't break off a big run and get into the end zone, you're probably going to be sad with his output. This is a good matchup for him, so likely he is a start, and you just trust the plot that he's going to come back and have an uptick in work and production. But you could potentially look at starting, a Gainwell or Warren in that same category as Bucky. It's definitely a conversation to be had. You just want to look at, obviously, defensive matchup, who they're playing. It does favor Tampa Bay ahead of the Steelers offense against a tougher Browns defense. So just things to think about when you're looking at who you give a start. Bucky's not a sit, but everyone else is. White and Tucker, I would not be giving a start to. I would go Sharps if I needed someone like that. Otten is a full ass sit. You have better options. And this is a good streaming defense with the quarterback change-up options. I think the Bucs would be great because we're seeing Quinn Ewers come back in week 17, most likely anyways, unless for some reason they do a change-up there. Must starts for the Dolphins. Achane, absolutely not interested in the quarterback of Quinn Ewers. Now, Waddle and Waller, we'll talk about both of them. Waller's production wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. He did end up getting 12.2 fantasy points, 9 targets, 5 receptions, so nothing like completely shit. However, they played the Cincinnati Bengals defense. So let's keep in mind that the Tampa Bay defense is not the Cincinnati Bengals defense. I don't want any part of Waddle this week. I'm thinking forward to say, okay, number one, Quinn Ewers didn't look great in general. Now he's facing a harder defense. I'm out. I don't want that in my opinion. So I'm going to look to pivot away from Waddle. I would play Jennings, BTJ, Parker Washington, maybe even Terry and Adrian Mitchell ahead of Waddle. Same thing with Waller. Same conversation. I don't want to trust it because, again, it feels scary. Waller did only end up with 7 fantasy points. There's other tight ends getting involved into the mix as well. I would start Henry, Ferguson, or Strange ahead of Waller this week, and I do not want any part of the Miami defense.
No, none of it. Next up, Patriots versus Jets. For the Patriots side, you're starting most of the guys, starting Drake May. If Travion Henderson is healthy and kind of passes concussion protocol, hopefully he does, he is a must start. Ramondre Stevenson, on the other hand, is a great start if Henderson is out, even if Henderson is there. They're both been very effective. And then Stephon Diggs, definitely a start, especially with these contract incentives. He's one of those guys who are very key for contract incentives.
Bootie's head injury, so we don't know if Bootie's going to play.
Yeah. And that was what my next thing was. So as far as wide receivers, Kayshon Boutte was concussed. So he probably won't play in this matchup. So Mac Hollins and then Demario Douglas could see increased roles. I don't love either of them. I would say just go with Diggs, sit both of those guys in this matchup. better guys to trust out there. And then Hunter Henry is a good start. Had 6 of 7 receptions, 35 yards, had a touchdown. He was very effective last week. This is a really great matchup for the tight ends. Again, can start him up this week, especially over a guy like, let's say, Travis Kelce, who has just been inconsistent and has a third-string quarterback. And then the Patriots defense is a very good start this week against the Jets. On the Jets side, no one is really a must start at all. You are definitely sitting the quarterback, Brady Cook. Don't like that. You are sitting Breece Hall. You are sitting Isaiah Davis. This is a tough matchup. Don't like either of them this week. The only guy I really want to talk about at wide receiver, and Amanda just mentioned him, is Adonai Mitchell. Adonai. I don't know how the hell you say that name.
I think you said it right the first time.
I think it's that too. He has been probably the most relevant wide receiver. Amanda just mentioned that you'd stick him in over like a Jalen Waddle. I don't mind that at all. He's had the connection with Cooks. I think that's the guy that he's looking for. Really the only guy that's been effective at the offensive role. If you need to take a chance on somebody, he's someone that you can most definitely take a chance on.
I think I would lean Mitchell like ahead of like Parker Washington and ahead of like if you were desperate, like I wouldn't play Mac Hollins. I would play Adonai Mitchell before I play Mac Hollins.
Yes. I think he's the clear wide receiver one for that team, where these other guys are sharing snaps with or sharing targets with other guys for sure. You're sitting Mason Taylor and you're sitting the Jets defense as well.
Absolutely. And the Patriots are weaker against the wide receiver position. So I don't hate that for Mitchell either. So it could give him a little upside.
It could.
For sure. All right, moving into Saints versus the Titans. Must-starts from the Saints is clear and obvious. Chris Olave. Specifically with Vele out too, it gave far more targets and opportunities to Olave, which we love. I'm not going to I'm not going to start Shuck as quarterback, but love to see him continue to at least produce another 300-yard passing week for him, which is great for him. No other wide receivers I'm going to consider here. We got to watch Vele's availability. I probably wouldn't go down that rabbit hole unless I was absolutely.
He was put on IR.
Oh, okay. Then we don't have to worry about that.
I saw that this morning. Yes.
That elevates for me as Juwan Johnson as a must start, in my opinion. We saw Juwan Johnson's targets increase. He got 9 targets this past week. With the lack of availability from Vele, that definitely increased Johnson's relevance. Ladies, hear me when I say this. Don't you fucking dare think about Taysom Hill. Don't look at him. Don't think about him. Don't say his name out loud. Do not play that man. I know he had a good week last week. Ignore. Control Alt Delete. Don't do it. I think Juwan Johnson is a great start this week. Everyone overestimated his options. This is
estimated.
I know they estimated wrong. This is desperate running back territory. Matchup that favors him. However, I don't like him. I would go Michael Carter. I would go Chris Rodriguez before I went down the Estime rabbit hole. There are going to slip in more people with Estime. So that's why I don't love it. I don't trust him enough in my opinion. And then the Saints defense. Great streaming defense. They were a great streaming defense last week. They dropped 20 big old points on for you, which we love. And another great matchup versus the booty hole Tennessee Titans. I don't want to start anyone. Okay? I don't want it. I don't want Cam Ward. I don't want to take the risk on maybe DK going to produce and have a game and Alec Ioman. No, I don't trust Cam Ward, period. That leaves me with not even wanting to trust Spears or Pollard. If I was absolutely desperate, I would go pure Spears ahead Pollard because he gets involved in the short check down pass game. Again, Spears is going to fall in that desperate running back room. Estime, Spears, maybe even a Chris Rodriguez where he's just sharing a lot of time. I would probably say if I needed to, it would probably be in order Chris, Spears, and then who'd I say? Estime. Estime would probably be last. That would be my order of importance there. I don't want anything to do with Pollard though. They are splitting 50-50, but I don't want it. I would definitely go Stevenson if Henderson's out. That's clear and obvious in my opinion. Chigakonkwo. Again, I don't trust any players on this team because I don't trust the quarterback. He saw 8 targets last week, which is really good for a tight end. He had 16.4 fantasy points. It wasn't a shit week. I think there's other options though, like Juwan Johnson I would play. I trust that quarterback more. Hunter Henry, I trust Drake May more. And with potentially Booty out, that should increase Hunter Henry's relevance. So I don't think you need to go down that rabbit hole. And the Tennessee Titans defense is a sit.
Okay. My next matchup, Giants versus the Raiders. On the Giants side, the only guy that I'm saying is a must start is Tyrone Tracy. Easier matchup for the running back. Everybody else is just a little bit shaky, and we're in that weird middle ground with is Jackson Dart going to snap out of it because 33 yards. I just couldn't even believe that was real. 33 yards.
They didn't even throw the ball until like the second, halfway through the second. It was crazy.
Right. And he wasn't injured. He didn't leave early. It just was not the game script.
Defense sucks though.
Yeah. I don't get it. So, I mean, I think the Raiders can apply a little bit more pressure to the quarterback, though. I think we've seen that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be anything like last week whatsoever. But I would start, Caleb Williams. I would start Stafford, obviously, Lawrence, obviously, over Jackson Dart for sure this week. As far as wide receivers go, I think Wan'Dale Robinson is also a must start here. I think he's one of the lead guys in the offense, the guy that hopefully, the game script changes and they go for him. I like him over a Devin Singletary, Darius Slayton, who I'm for sure sitting. Another running back to kind of talk about would be Singletary. He's definitely that second fiddle to Tracy, but he is still kind of involved. I wouldn't trust him this week. I'd go Rodriguez, Carter, Wilson over him for sure. Theo Johnson is a full sit. Much better guys. I mean, he wasn't even really involved at all last week. I don't could kind of follow that same script going into this week if there's a kind of a shaky pass game. And then I think Las Vegas could be a streaming option if Dart has another poor week, but that's kind of like an up in the air. I think there's better options. Grabbing someone like the Patriots, if they're available, is a better option there. As far as the Raiders, you're starting Bowers. You can't help but not start Bowers. And then you're starting Genty. This is a juicy ass matchup for the running back position. So they should be great. You're sitting Geno Smith. Again, you're going to continue to sit all wide receivers because the really shaky offense. I don't trust Tucker. I don't trust Besh. I don't trust Lockett at all. Oh, I'm sorry. I mixed up my streaming options here because I think you could possibly stream the Giants defense against a weak offense, not the Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
That was what I meant to say. You're going to sit the Raiders defense. I don't like them. I mean, if you want to, I don't know, think about what the production can be, but I don't think it's worth it in championship week at all.
Nah, there's so many good defensive matchups with how many quarterbacks are hurt. You got better options. Even someone like Pittsburgh would be a better option where they're still playing Shorter Sanders, but he's thrown multiple interceptions almost every game. So right. All right, Eagles versus the Bills. So must starts for the Eagles. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, all three of them can go get ahead and get fired up into your lineup. Jalen Hurts, he's probably a streaming start. You're probably going to play Jalen Hurts, specifically with all the injuries at this point. I'm starting him ahead of Lamar, Jordan Love, Bo Nix. Obviously, there's a shit ton of are they going to play or not situations. I think Jalen Hurts slips his way into a must start. However, if you're looking at a Drake May or Jalen Hurts, that's a different conversation. I'm going to play Allen, obviously, ahead of Jalen Hurts. But in my opinion, for most of you, are going to end up needing to start Jalen Hurts this week. Goddard, always a streaming option. Tough matchup. The Bills are the best against the tight end. Fannin produced well, but they manufacture touches for Fannin. So I'm not sure if I'm all that hot on Goddard. I would sit Goddard and play Fannin or Ferguson. I would play Goddard ahead of Barner, Parkinson, and Hawkinson. So I'm going to drop Goddard's relevance a little bit and throw him in that category. I would start Juwan Johnson ahead of Goddard, in my opinion, though, for reference. The Eagles defense, I think you can move on and pick a different defense that might have more production in week 17, championship week. Championship week, every single position matters, okay? The Bills. Must starts, Josh Allen, James Cook. I know Josh Allen didn't have a great week, but you're not going to give up on him. They were just able to run the ball so much. James Cook was just taking care of business. He was, for lack of a better word. But I'm still starting both of them. Shakira. I don't want to start him. I would start him over Worthy, because I don't want any piece of the Kansas City offense with who the hell is going to play quarterback. So is there a situation where you might have to throw Waddle in? Yes, but I would rather flex a high upside. I'm sorry, Shakir. I have the note of would I play Waddle or Shakir? That was my question. I don't know. I literally don't know.
Against the Eagles, I'd probably go with Waddle.
I'd probably go with Waddle too. Yeah,
I'd go with Waddle.
And I'm going to play like Jameson Williams. I would even play Chris Godwin, Mitchell, Jennings, Terry, maybe even Deebo Samuels ahead of Shakir this week. Kincaid, dealing with a lingering knee issue. They've talked about it. He's hurt. They're involving all of their other tight ends. I don't want to play Kincaid right now. And then the Bills defense, I'm also not super interested in starting this week either.
Okay. All right. My last matchup here is Chicago Bears versus San Francisco 49ers. On the Bears side, you're gonna start up DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai. I think all great starts here. I don't mind starting Caleb Williams in this matchup. Should be a very heavy pass script game. Oh my gosh. This should be a very pass-heavy game. The script should to benefit Williams. It did not so much last week. They wanted to run the ball a little bit more. This game, they're going to want to keep up. It's kind of a relevant game. There are a lot of wide receivers that are just question marks besides DJ Moore in the Bears side. So like Burden, I don't know if he'll be back. Adunze, I don't know if he'll be back. Both injured. I don't like any wide receivers outside of DJ Moore. And that kind of elevates for me Colson Loveland this week. I think he could be we thought that last week, but I think he could be a very viable start this week, especially if Burden and Adunze are again out. He should see more targets. I think, like I just said, the passing game should be a lot more influenced in this game. Don't like the defense at all for the Bears against the 49ers. On the 49ers side, you are must starting CMC. Watch George Kittle's ankle injury. I don't foresee
that would be such a loss for you guys in the championship.
I know that would be a really hard one. I mean, if he's fine, fire him up against the Bears for sure. Brock Purdy could most definitely be a start here. Good starter, especially if you lost your quarterback in the carnage of last week. More reliable option than some other replacements. Could be a great matchup against Chicago. I think Juwan Jennings is a great start this week as well for the 49ers, especially if Kittle is out. It's going to elevate his relevance even more. Pearsall is out as well, so he's really taking the brunt of the targets. And then the 49ers defense against Chicago, I think, is a great start as well.
Love it. Final matchup here, Rams versus the Falcons. Easy must start for the Rams, Stafford and Puka Nakua. Both of them go ahead and get locked into your lineup. They did announce that Adams is unlikely to return week 17, so just keep that on your radar. Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. Right now, we watched this happen in week 16. They literally would go, okay, this was an entire Kyron Williams drive, and then after that drive was over, it would be a Blake Corum drive. So they rotated back and forth essentially every other drive. Both of them can be started, and Sean McVay did state that they will use Kyron more in the playoffs. And right now, they're both producing so well. They just want to make sure both of them stay nice and healthy and optimal. It's not stupid. Does it suck for fantasy football? Abso-fucking-lutely. Because if your guy doesn't get in the end zone on his drive, you're going to be left upset. I think both of them can be started. You're just hoping that your guy gets into the end zone, right? That's your hope and prayer there. Parkinson, really threw a middle finger to everyone's high hopes. I think we all fell for it. We were like, God, he's just saw so much consistent targets. And then they got the other two tight ends heavily involved in week 16. And it was just basically like, screw everyone who decided to throw Colby Jack Cheese into the lineup. Sorry about that. I'm starting Fannin, Fergie, Goddard, Henry ahead of him this week. Johnson, Loveland ahead of Parkinson this week, in my opinion, as well. Defense of the Rams. I think there's too many weapons on the Falcons for me to consider them. And I think there's better upside options out there. Must-starts for the Falcons. Pitts, London, Bijan Robinson. Absolutely. Go. It was Drake London's first week back. I know he didn't have a great week. It was like a 5-6 point game for him. I don't expect that to continue this week, in my opinion. No. Kirk Cousins is a full-ass sit. Darnell Mooney is a full-ass sit. Tyler Rozier is a full-ass sit. He's just a backup. And the defense, no, I'm good there. So that's it. That's it for our matchups for week 17, my friends. We are going to wrap up with your favorite segment, but we're going to do a little different. We're going to do a little naughty and nice starts of the week because it's Christmas, my friends. So let's get into it and kick us off with your nice start of the week.
My nice start of the week is Michael Carter. Oh boy, she did it. Is Michael Carter. The Bengals have allowed the most rushing yards to running backs this season. Carter's pass catching ability is also there. 19 receptions since week 19. He is a little bit volatile, but should get you points not only on the ground, but also in the air. Fire him up for week 17.
My nice start of the week is Trevor Lawrence. A second badass week for him against a tough defensive unit. He's that guy. He got his mojo back. He's coming to win. Throw him in your lineup. He is my nice start of the week. All right. Give me your naughty start of the week.
Oh, no. Amanda is definitely going to talk to Santa about this naughty pick. Now, I forgot we
That
changed it
was
to
so
naughty.
weird.
It was really weird.
You're not going to say it. I hate you. I didn't even look at your notes.
I'm saying it. Okay, so the hottest pepper in the world is Pepper X, averaging 2,693,000 Scoville units. Now, if we're talking naughty, he's on the last one on the naughty list. First note on the naughty list. I don't know. Taysom Hill, New Orleans running back, tight end, running back, jack of all trades.
He's a Swiss Army knife.
So if you were in a so desperate situation and you were looking on the waivers, I know this runs after waivers, but we'll talk about it. Maybe I'll sneak it in on the waivers. And you need someone to really just let's see what happens. Then Taysom Hill, grab him, because not only is he used as a tight end, and a receiver, but also can be run. So he can throw the ball, he can run the ball. He does everything. And this is his I think, no, that was Adam Thielen. I don't remember who it was. His last season, I think he's just trying to go out with a bang. They're trying to use him to get him out of there and have a good year. If you're dealing with injuries, if you've been streaming tight ends all season, I like him, especially with Bailey placed on IR, could be more relevant. So,
all right.
Naughty.
Hate you for that pick, but that's all right. All right, my naughty pick of the week, and I changed to the dino, which I have this sweater that I got, and it's a little boy sweater, but it's half Santa. It turns into a dino. This is the most epic Christmas sweater in the entire universe. Okay, my spicy, terrible start of the week, Adam Thielen, the wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Old man Adam Thielen and old man Aaron Rodgers. They're going to hold down the house. Listen, do I hate that? Yeah. Would I put him in my lineup? Probably never. But would be the scariest, most risky start of the week. But someone's going to have to merge as a wide receiver one. And I don't know why I feel like, what's his name? Aaron Rodgers is back there I feel like we need to have an old man connection this week. Adam Thielen, let's make this shit happen. I mean, it's either got to be him or Calvin Austin, right? But I would say my naughty start of the week is Adam Thielen himself, my friend.
Oh, yeah. They were some naughty picks. I like
We had to go out with a bang, my friends. All right. Well, that's all we got for you for week 17. It is championship week. We are sending all of the good fantasy football vibes for you to take home the championship. Maybe you're in a league of all men and you're going to make all of the boys cry when you take home that chip. Make sure you brag to us if you do. We cannot wait to hear your recap, and we will still have an episode next week. We're going to do a big old recap of our year together, so make sure you tune in with that. We appreciate it, guys. We love you guys, and have a great championship week. See ya.
And happy holidays.
Oh, yes. Happy holidays, my friends.